Greetings, peace, and welcome. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Midday Motivation brought to you by, of course, the Sovereign Eats. So, today's Midday Motivation really just focuses on health and heritage. And I thought it made sense to just, have a little bit of conversation around the impact of our heritage on our health. How has old traditions that our families or blood family members have kept up and passed on to us, how have those impacted our lives? And if you're joining the conversation or you want to join the conversation, just briefly, because I understand it's in the middle of the day, and many of you who are tuning in or jumping on are multitasking at this time, which is fine. I love it. I really appreciate that you take the time to pause for this cause, for your cause, right? To take a break in the name of health. So if you want to join in and you want to get on and show your face and share a little bit, the link is actually in our bio. I can actually the bio on my Instagram feed. So if you found it and you want to follow that link and join us, please do so. It's easy. I'll see you in the it's called backstage. So if I see you backstage, I'll let you on in. But again, this is just to greet everyone. And so I wanted to just jump right in. I am Maksha, and I want to welcome you to the Sovereign Experience. And this is on Midday Motivation. Now, as I thought about health and heritage, I began to consider the idea of heritage, the word heritage, and what heritage means. But before we do that, I wanted us to explore a little bit about health. You know, although I talk about health from the perspective of food here mostly and lifestyle, right? And lifestyle, of course, incorporates all of the other aspects of self, right? The mind, the blood, the body, how does it function, the digestive system, all the organs, all of these things go into making sure we have optimum health, right? But most of all, when we talk about health, we always talk about food. And when we think about food, we predominantly think about food as fuel. But it's really important to actually think beyond that. It's important to consider health and consider food from beyond the perspective of nutrients and fuel. And I think we need to think about food beyond the fact that it's just a list of ingredients, and also beyond the boxes of, oh, food, it can be a carb, a protein, mineral, a vitamin. So much more goes into the feeding of ourselves or family and those around us when we talk about health and when we talk about food. Again, and we could talk about food from the physical aspect, or we could talk about spiritual food, right? But even physical food that we consume has a layer that many people don't consider. That's the energetics. What is the energy of the food? What is the energy of the food that was harvested? What is the energy of the person who harvested the food? What is the energy of the person who prepared the food? What is the energy of the person who delivered the food? All of those things go into um, the full scope and perspective. But then there's another part. The other part is that food connects us. Food actually is a connection to our ancestors, our heritage, and to the way we did things before. And so it's really important for us to pause and think about how food connects us to history. And now the question becomes, well, if food connects us to history, then there's heritage there. And that heritage is a direct connection to tradition and the way we do things. Well, so then it leads us to kind of question and dig, right, our own personal histories to find out the connection, right? What is that connection? And when you think about the connection to food, or you think about your connection to ancestral lineage, then that brings you to habits and traditions that can put you at, in a detrimental position. And I say that because many times when we talk about melanated communities and some of the issues that affect them health-wise, we seem to stay on the same ones: chronic diseases, heart failure, blood issues. The thing, and I think I see someone in the chat in the backstage. So if you are backstage, please be patient. I am gonna click and allow for you to come on in. So again, if you are backstage, please don't exit. Just give us 1 second and I'll make sure to pull you into the conversation. Right. And I want to pause here a little bit. But before I do, I want to just point out two things, right? That connection that we have to food and the connection to the dire effects of food and heritage. It's a connection that is very much present regardless of where we are geographically or any of that. Doesn't matter where you were born. Doesn't matter where you were reared. Or where you are right now. That connection is real. However, I want to charge you with this. Do you really know your heritage? That's the question I want to ask. Do you know your true ancestry? And I mean the true ancestry beyond the cage of the boundaries of being enslaved, beyond the boundaries of, oh, this is my grandmother, this is my great grandmother. What about the lineage beyond just those couple generations that we know that link us and link our blood to true heritage? All right, which leads me to the uncovering of heritage. Like, because I was like, I thought I knew what heritage meant, right? Well. So I'll pause just to welcome everyone who took the time to step into the sovereign space. I want to greet you all. I'm going to greet you from the last to the first. They say the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So I want to big up Ima Precious Stephanie, Sister Deidre Sully, MPH, Sister Sham the Joy, Akuya Bisa, and Sister Naya. All right, I greet you all and I thank you for joining us. Sister Naya is greeting everyone. Sham the Joy is saying she's looking forward to the topic. Tell me, what do you think about the topic so far? I know she pointed out the plasma, and I think that was directly connected to the statement we made about blood. Just give me 1 second. I am actually trying to add someone to the conversation. So I'll wait again because I see them, but then they go away. So I'll just keep going. All right. And if you see anyone in the chat, because sometimes I kind of miss out on the chat, but if you see anyone in the chat kind of saying, hey, I'm here, like what's going on? Let me know and I will jump back. All right. So as I was looking at heritage, and you're probably saying, well, what does this have to do with food, Maksha? Well, it does. It is directly connected to food and health, right? Directly, because again, sometimes we get stuck in those traditions, and those traditions they set programmings in our bodies, in our minds, and in our blood, and it becomes very difficult for us to shift or change our lifestyle, whether it's an eating lifestyle or a productive lifestyle, whether it's finances, whether it touches on all aspects of being, and that's the holistic part of it, right? So as I was looking at the terminology and the etymology, I came up with the fact that heritage is actually what gives rise to a whole lot of other things like heredity. And when I thought of heredity, I sat down there, I was like, So heredity actually is directly connected to a condition that is passed down, right? A condition or state that is transmitted by ancestors. So that's one way of considering heritage, right? Because it's directly connected to heredity. And so then I looked at the idea that when we think about something that's inherited, right? That's that's another idea that comes out of the word heritage. And when we think about something that's inherited, we think about estate, we think about, heirs, heirlooms, all these beneficial things, these positives. But the truth is, there are times, many times, when our heritage can be the crux of our downfall if we do not, rise above it. If we're not able to identify what is being transmitted through the plasma, as Sister Shamda Joy shared, right? The future, but what's transmitted, right, through the blood, because those can lead to diseases, those can lead to conditions that actually lead to, us having really bad health, right? Deteriorating, literally falling apart. And many times that we're stuck in those phases or spaces because no one shared, no one gave us the full history of who we were, right, or who we are, or what we have sitting in our blood or sitting in our ancestral lineage. But I also think there's another side to it. There's the other side that heritage also came up as an adjective that means Israelite, God's chosen people. So I just took the book and I flipped it down, I threw it down to the side. I was like, what are you talking about? Because, and for those of you who are not necessarily aligned with Anu or not Anu, you may say, well, what are you talking about? I think it's beautiful when you see the meanings of words and they come to mean so much more to you, and they have a deeper implication when you start looking at what we say seems to be something simple, especially when we think we know the meaning of a word and you realize, oh, there's more, right? There's so much more. So that brought me to this. Well, my health is my heritage, but my heritage is not just the people in my direct blood familial line. It's not. So my health does not only depend on that. My health actually depends on the true heritage that I identify with. And if I can identify with that true heritage, then I won't be stunted, right? Because the true heritage will bring me back to law, right? I don't know if you're following me, but I am going here and I'm like, wait, forget the food, right? There's just so much more. So, on looking at that statement, heritage is a possession, and Israelites, or God's chosen people, Yah's chosen people, a flock, is also what came up to me. I said, but wait, there is a beautiful piece in the Anu way that made me I just couldn't do anything but open up the book, flip to it, and read it over and over and over and over again. And I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to that part in the Anu way that brought me directly to what we consider generational curses that sit within our bloodline or sit within our actual blood, or our health, or poor eating habits, and our health, or ill health for that matter. And what is the true problem? All right. Sister Shamdador says, say, what? Exactly. Exactly. And again, I am sharing some of what I have uncovered and how it relates to health and food. But you may find another lens or another perspective. All right. And I'm sharing that because, again, there are so many perspectives and so many ways to be able to deliberate about these topics that come up. So really critical for us to do our own work and try to uncover that. So quick story, right? One connection I wanted to make to the idea of and I don't know if it connects, but I think it does, right? I grew up seeing a lot of women in my family food prep. And there were no measuring cups, there were no measuring spoons, there was no measurement, right? So now let's start to talk about how much salt in there, right? Do you even know how much salt you're consuming? How much sugar you're really taking in? Are you really considering the amount of those types of foods that ends up being detrimental to us, like sugar and salt, right? Because they're directly connected to some of the illnesses that are rampant, right, throughout the Caribbean, but also here as well too. Greetings, Chief Yuya. Greetings, peace, and welcome to our sovereign experience. Thank you for joining. So, um, in the story that I'm giving, I'm really just, thinking about myself when I was a child. And I would always look at my aunt, my great grand aunt, my grandmother, even my great grandmother. And every time they food prepped, again, like I said, you would not see measuring tools coming out, right? I didn't see my mother utilize tools for measurement until she began to develop her cake business, right? And I said to myself, wow, that's interesting. But there's that level of energetics that I was talking about, right? Apart from the energy of the person, but there's an energetic interplay that occurs when you are creating a food, right? Or and I can't help but to think about how that's directly connected to thoughts, right? Because if you're creating something and it's for the to nourish others and nourish the bodies of others, and we're talking about energetics and the energy of the food, but also the energy of the person prepping the food, we also have to go to the thoughts, right? Because again, before something actually can be physically present in front of us, before you can actually make the thing, you have to have a thought about it, right? But you also have to consider who you're making it for and all of those things. So that's, like that's a huge part of the process when we talk about food, but also health and how it relates to heritage. And I did the same thing. It was traditional. I did the same thing. I was like, okay, let me just do this. Boom. I didn't know why. I just knew, okay, they did it. That's how I should do it too, without really recognizing that they were able to identify a knowing in creating or preparing this thing, whatever the food or the dish was. So those are some of the things that are passed down to us in terms of the processes that are used, but there are other things that are detrimental, even more detrimental, right? I grew up seeing family members eat certain foods without questioning it, without wondering, like, why are we consuming certain unclean foods, right? And actually putting them up on a pedestal and, just considering them to be a major part of a lot of our celebrations and the gatherings and so on that we had. And they took a lot of time in preparing those foods. They took a lot of time in creating them and making sure that they tasted well and they were presented well. But the truth is, you were actually creating foods that were harmful to us. They were actually against law, right? So that's the other aspect of having this conversation around health and heritage, right? Are we really consuming foods and living our lives based on law that is the law of the land or the law of the blood lineage that we come from? Or are we looking at the larger aspect of heritage, right? The meaning of heritage that I spoke about before, which is being Yah's chosen people, right? So that means that we're being governed by laws that are present in, for those of you who are probably just joining in, laws that are present in Leviticus, laws that are present in Deuteronomy. Those are the laws that should dictate what our food is. Those are laws that should dictate other aspects of our lives and our lifestyle when it comes to cleanliness and how to function with others. Those are the things that we need to consider and to look at, and not just lean on, oh, this is tradition, this is what I was taught. Because many times you're taught it or you see it and you learn it from others modeling it, but you don't know the why. And the why many times is critical, because that leads you to purpose and function. And if you're doing something without purpose and function, that's a problem. All right. So I've been going and going. I lost my guest, y'all. So they popped in and popped out and went back out. So if anyone else wants to join, that link in the Instagram, on the Instagram bio, and you're interested to come on in and just share a story or two about the way certain traditions in your heritage, and I'm talking about the heritage of your blood family specifically, has impacted your journey, please follow the link and come on in. I'm looking at the guest button with the hawk eyes right now, so I don't miss it. There are a couple of you who have joined us. I wanted to greet Brother Cruz and Sister Kashia. Thank you all for joining, and everyone else is just greeting each other. I'm glad that you're here. So if you are wondering, I know I mentioned that after looking at the term heritage, it took me to the Anu way. All right. And for those of you who are wondering, well, what's the Anu way? There will be a link in the description so you can go click through and actually find that wonderful book about how to live your life in the most upright way you can, and how to also align with the Anu community. So it's going to be there for your benefit. Feel free, click on the link and follow the path, right? Follow that journey. So the piece that I wanted to pull from the Anu way, and I'm going to read it directly, and that piece hit me again in many different ways, because it directly connected to what I uncovered about heritage and health and lineage, right? It says, how can you move beyond the generational curses in your bloodline? The generational setbacks are a result of your forefathers rejecting the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Most High. Their methods, meaning the methods of our ancestors or forefathers, their methods were fashioned by their own lower order thinking and social seasoning. You must refuse to carry the torch of stunted family traditions. So 3 words stood out to me. And now that I read it again, several others stood out. But setbacks, fashioned, and fashioned, lower order thinking, and stunted all jumped out at me. And they jumped out because I kept saying to myself, sticking to the old ways of things without really pulling out the calculations of the why, and understanding what is your real heritage, is going to set you back. All right. And when you feel like you're set back, what we tend to do, we tend to blame the man or blame everybody else, rather than identify that there is a problem and we are perpetuating cycles, but not actually finding solutions so that we can level up or we can evolve. All right. So my guest is in the backstage, y'all. So I'm going to pause for a cause and invite my guest in. I don't know who. Oh, boom, boom, boom. All right. We're going to add Shamanique to the stream.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey. Okay. Please, I like this topic. I
I
can hear you.
can, because there's a little bit of feedback. But if you all are in the chat and you can hear us well and clearly, let me know. I am excited. Thank you for joining us, Sister Shamanique. So what are your ideas on the topic? Can you hear me? Can
I
you hear me?
can. I was trying to fix the feedback. Is that better? I think that's better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the first thing that came to mind was like I'm of Caribbean background, and one thing my grandma cooks all the time is tripe soup. And I didn't know what tripe was for the longest time, and then when I found out, I was like, "This is disgusting." And then they were like, "But it's a it's our heritage, you know, so where we came from." But it really, a lot of the stuff that we eat come from survival. So that was a big thing. Like, it's not necessarily your heritage; it's what you had to do in a moment of survival.
This is, oh my goodness, that's an excellent point to add to the conversation, because the truth is, if we're going to focus on just what we use for survival, then how do we get to, then it means that we're actually going to stay stunted. How do we grow? How do we evolve beyond just a survivalist mentality? Although we need to have that in place, because, things is real out here right now. Like, you have to have some of it, right? But if we're going to live at a certain standard and actually reflect who we have chosen, I mean, we're chosen people of Yah. So if we're going to function in that way or in that manner, it means that down to our eating habits have to be of a certain standard, right? It has to reflect who we are, but it's not just about the eating, it's the living, right? It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And just to jump on the idea of tribe, um when I mentioned seeing my memories of my the women in my family prepping food, I thought of several Sundays that we would visit where my grandmother would make tripe. It's called sauce. It's called pigfoot sauce. I don't mean to make this conversation about that, because it's beyond the food, right? It's beyond the nutrient and the fuel. But the truth is, can you imagine the energetics of cooking pig and feeding that to family? And and assuming that it's right and it's okay. And you had to cure it in salt for days. That's how, it becomes something that could be consumed. Survivalist
Yeah.
food.
Even the prep process, like how long it takes to prep it, should be a sign that we're not supposed to eat it. Like the washing of the tripe, like you have to scrub it like it's clothes. So, yeah.
No, 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 your point's bringing me right back to all of the steps, because yeah, I could see her cutting the lemons and the limes and yeah, it's a rigorous process. It is, it is, it is. And I see Sister Precious Stephanie says, yes, slave prisoner foods, even after being emancipated, we could not afford to keep the prime cuts of meat. So I'll put it up so everyone can see. So we would eat the feet and the intestines, the insides. And yeah, but it became traditional, right? So this is what I'm talking about, the consuming certain foods and thinking that, okay, this is tradition, this is fine, it's okay, this is actually how I'm supposed to live. But the truth is, again, it was based off of just survivalist mentality. And it's a short perspective, because you're looking back, but you're not looking back far enough to see where you truly came from. Because if you look further back, you'll notice that, yeah, we came from a people whose law indicated that pig was not what we ate,
Right.
right? And that survivalist mode is it's very different. You're gonna eat what you can to survive, but now we're not in that space, right?
Yeah, and the pride that comes from it now is like wrong and strong. And we were talking about pride last evening, so we already know where that leads. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Give thanks for this topic.
Thank you for coming in and joining the conversation. Can I ask you, apart from the tripe that was prepared, were there any other foods, or are there any foods that you think connect you to your heritage?
Yeah, there are many. Like we do eat a lot of vegetables still. And also the traditions of unleavened bread, like that was also something in my family. Um, I went blank. I can't think of
No,
anything else,
it's
but
fine.
yeah.
It's fine. Unleavened bread. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to share in the space, or any questions you wanted to ask our audience at all? I appreciate.
Yeah, what are some of your tr heritage meals that you still eat and traditions that you still carry on that you think are either connected or not connected? That's to your real
Well,
heritage.
right. Well, your real heritage. Well, there are a couple of statements in the chat, but you heard the question. She wants to know, and I'll share mine too. There are some that are directly connected to the true heritage, and then there's some that are connected to just the heritage or the traditions that were passed down through my bloodline. But for those of you in the audience, I'll repeat the question really quickly. She wants you to share. Sister Shamanique wants you to share what are some of the foods that you think you still eat that connects you to your heritage, right? That's it. Yeah. All right. So for me, it's chocolate. It's cacao, cocoa. I love it. I can't help it. There's something about it that is energizing, but it also makes me feel, and it's not about comfort. It just makes me feel full, like if I'm full of energy. But there's something about tapping into the level of magnesium in there. That's helpful for me when it comes to movement and joints and just my nerves. And I can feel it, right? So maybe that's where sometimes the feeling of comfort comes in, but it isn't really. It's just because it acts on the nerves, right? Or the nervous system. So that's
That's a
one.
good one.
I like bread. I'm not gonna lie. I do. I don't find like I have had structure. So I'm not necessarily like going crazy with breads or whatever, but I would find myself trying to remake bread or remake versions of breads from all sorts.
The smell. It's the smell that gets me. Yeah.
Ah,
Hmm. Another one is herbs. Herbs are really big.
mm,
Um, I'm pretty sure that's connected to our heritage, but the use of them, even outside of food and for healing, that's really big.
right. This is true. And now you make me want to dig some more into those particular herbs, right? Those, because I'm sure there are some that would have um grown from them, and we do grow them here in the West, but I have a feeling that there's so many others that we don't know about. And yeah, that statement right there makes me want to dig more so I could go back further, because like I'm familiar with some of the very contemporary herbs, but older herbs, right? From the true heritage, like I can't, as a Hebrew, right? 'Cause I don't want to. I'm not saying the word. I am saying it, but I want other people to kind of uncover the clue too and be like, "Oh, that's what it means." Go
Yeah, and I
ahead.
always wonder what their names are, because I know like my dad would bring back herbs from Jamaica and he'd be like, "This is bush." Like, but no one knows what the names are. So, but they actually worked for whatever ailment anyone had. So yeah, it make me want to dig as well.
Right. Well, I remember some of and I don't see many of them up here, but there are a few like Cerasee. Cerasee is bitter. Black sage. Black sage was another one. Black sage grew all over, the side of the road. And the side of the road. You hear me? Oh my gosh. But it grew all over the side of the road. And that was one of the herbs that you drank on waking up. It was first thing in the dawning. And it was dark and bitter, but there was a sweetness to it, a natural sweetness, almost like a stevia taste, and they used it to regulate the blood. It was just used as for every ailment, actually. If you had a cold, if you were sick, if you fell down and bust your knee, black sage. Okay, let's jump into chat. I don't know if you want to stay on. If you want to stay on, you're welcome to. It's up to you. That's fine. If there's anyone else in the chat who's trying to get on, let me know. And when I see the guest section, I'm gonna pull you in. But we have just a couple more minutes today. Go ahead, Sister Shamik.
I'll let you do your thing, but thank you for having me on. All right, peace.
Okay. All right, that was cool. Uh, so let me jump back into the chat. Sister Stephanie had a whole lot, and I want to get to it. Oh my goodness. She says, yes, so much of what we've eaten and have done was for survival and not for our elevation. This is so true. This is so true. And I'm a couple minutes behind y'all, but I'm going to get to everyone. Brother Cruz says, slave prisoner foods, even after being emancipated, we could not afford to keep the prime cuts of meat, so we ate the feet and the insides, anything else that the market did not want. Yes, indeed. Sister Stephanie says black sauce, yes, sauce and black pudding. It's not pudding. It's not. It really isn't. It's not pudding. You really want to know what it is? Oh my goodness. I have some pieces written about this black pudding, y'all. Right. I have some more details about this thing. But I loved it as a kid. I will say that. I will say that, and you all are probably gonna say, "Ooh, Marsha, what's going on?" That was then. I was primarily doing what I saw was traditional and thought it was right. I was eating blood pudding, and someone told me it was good, so I thought it was good. But then when I saw how it was made, I realized no, it's not good. When I saw the ingredients and saw how it was made, I didn't like it. But there was something else too. We visited, when I visited one of the people that my family would purchase this from, there was also the energy of the environment and of the person preparing. As a child, I mean, what do I know? But I think that there's that energy, right, that we're able to suss out. Sister Kashia says, my country family used to make that. Enough toes when missing, they stop. Huh? What? Toes when missing. Oh my goodness, that's why. That was a little bit graphic for me. Toes went missing. I mean, all I could see is cleavers and like chopping. I'm sorry. I understand. You're talking about the effects of diabetes. Yeah, I mean, it will cause heart failure and heart congestion too. Cruz says no, it's been adopted as misguided, traditionally accepted. Yes, soul food, right? Soul food. I don't think it have soul though. I think it's missing that part. We are all one, and new to the world. Yes, indeed. Okay, Brother Cruz is having a new hype moment. I don't see anyone else. I thought one or two of you mentioned that you wanted to join the chat. I don't see any guests. So if you are in there and you're trying to get on, but you're having a problem, probably go out and come back in. That might help because I really don't see anyone else there. But I'm getting to all the statements. There's so much. Sister Akuya says, Precious Stephanie, chocolate meat was offered to me once. It is a Filipino dish. I didn't know it was blood. Yes, ma'am. It's interesting you mentioned this, Sister Akuya, because that's exactly how black pudding looks. It looks like chocolate meat. Oh my goodness. Don't forget the cheeseburgers, the meat, the milk, the meat all together. These are taboo. Yes, but this goes back to the initial points at the beginning of our conversation, right? What is the actual heritage that we should be aligning with, right? What should that be? And, again, are we stunting ourselves by just sitting and accepting traditional ways of living and traditional ways of eating and ignoring the fact that we're stunting ourselves, ignoring the fact that these are all of the health issues that we're uncovering are actual setbacks. Those are generational curses. Sister Naya says wrong and strong is accurate. My grandmother ate seasons with lots of different meats and salts and developed health issues. She just eased up, not stopping and changing to healthier seasonings. So, there are different ways to resolve some of it, but I definitely think it's deeper than just food and health. There is an energetic part to it. There is a spiritual part to it. There's the uncovering of the actual true heritage. that you walk with every day, that's also a deeper part of it, because that heritage dictates that we follow law, right? And that law really covers a whole lot, and not just food. So there's more conversation. Sister Kashia speaks about fried fish and bread on Fridays is what my relatives do to celebrate the end of the strong, the end of the week, the work week. This is true, right? In Grenada, where I grew up, there is what's called Fish Friday. Fish Friday seems to be an actual thing across the world that I didn't know, but Fish Friday is what's traditional, and everything is fried, right? All the fish is fried, so that becomes an issue. I'm gonna keep scrolling, gosh, I can't stop talking, y'all. Anaya says, is black pudding the same as liver pudding? I don't know what liver pudding is, but I don't think it's the same, because black pudding is made with the tripe or the entrails of the animal, and then they use blood and other things and they stuff it. I'm sorry to go so gross, but that's what you're eating, for those who are, like listening and still ordering those things. Sister Kashia says, I do not do this anymore, but I do make sure to prepare a meal and sit and eat it to give thanks for the end of the strong and hard work. Brother Cruz says, eating of shellfish in all sorts of combinations were regular staples, especially like a salsa salad. Now I substitute shellfish with sea moss. Okay, that's a good substitute. Maybe and I'm sure that there are lots of other veggies that you can use to substitute. We'll probably talk some more about that in upcoming Strong's. Sister Naya says, Kashia, I immediately thought about all of the fish specials on Fridays, and there's a lot of conversations. Ema Precious says, the legacy or heritage of growing own food and prepping meals communally, but no particular food has been retained, as it was mainly unhealthy and misaligned where I've been for years. I see. I see. Bush has and is still the best gift from home. Yeah, you're talking about the bush tea. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's all bush, but it's all good. It's work miracles. um, wow. Sister Deidre says, who's been fighting me from across the room, y'all, because she wants me to say this. It's like folks in the US eat chitlings, aka Oh, so are you saying, Sister Deidre, that chitlings are the US equivalent to black pudding? Or is it just considered a similar soul food that is pig based? Called foot jello. Oh my goodness, y'all going in on all the foods. Oh my goodness. All right. Sister Sister Precious says all of what we've shared are wrong eating. Wrong eating was designed to throw us off the mark. Oh my goodness, you're hitting the mark now. Like let's really talk. Only though through eating accordingly to law can we align with our true heritage. Great topic. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, because after going back to the Anue and really reading through the point made by Chief Yuya about the generational curses and there being setbacks, but the stunting, right? And the stunting is what really threw me. I was like, wow, that's what leads to just those perpetual cycles of not evolving and not growing beyond where we are. All right. And it's interesting sometimes, I'll leave you all on this note. I'll finish reading out the pieces and I'll leave you all on this note. You're going to find that when you begin to separate from the foods, the culture, the traditions, the ways, the norms, you're going to find that you get a lot of talk from others, right? You might find you get a lot of others who say things, whether they're relatives or whatnot, because they probably have an issue with you, identifying a new path for yourself and for everyone else that comes through you or from you or who is around you or you're aligning with. You find that people will have a problem with it. Well, they only have a problem with it because probably they're not able to see the value in assessing tradition, deliberating, and then finding resolutions to problems, because and or they've accepted the setbacks and the stunted growth or stunting, right? Because I can't see how you could say stunted growth in the same breath, because it doesn't work together, right? But I've heard it all the time. That stunting is because there's no one who's willing to think outside of the box that someone has programmed you into or programmed us into, right? So you'll just continue to perpetuate the same cycles and there won't be any advancing, right? But if you want advancement and you want to move beyond like the old fashioned thoughts, there has to be that change, and that is by abiding by law. um yes, liver pudding, rice, all of those things, oh my goodness. um there's a whole lot here and I think I'm skipping. I don't want to skip everyone. I want to make sure I give everybody their little spotlight. Brother Cruz says other substitutes were squash and eggplants. Okay, good. The body part, it is so chitlins you're saying is the intestine. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. um Sham the Joy says, I got the answer. Something that truthfully aligns with my heritage is the cultivation of land that has been passed down through the generations. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Like that. That's on point. That's on point. That's one of the ways toward sovereignty, right? That's one of the ways toward really truly embodying and embracing and walking in being a sovereign. So when I say sovereigns to y'all, peace sovereigns, I'm literally identifying and saying, wake up that part of yourself. I'm gonna pause here. This was really good. I'm glad that you all joined and everybody was engaged. If you have further questions, comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I want to share with you all, the more comments we leave on each other's videos, it actually increases our engagement and it shows the people who own this platform that we're actually doing things based on like their standards or whatever. But please put all of the additional comments and so on that I did not read, copy paste them, do something and put them in the comment section below. Share this platform, Sovereign Eats and Midday Motivation, with all of your relatives and everyone who you know can benefit from it. There will be a link, of course, to the Anue. Share that with anyone who you encounter today. Just talk to them. Just don't be afraid. Just say something. All right. And if there's anything I can do for you or you need me in any way, please DM me or place that request in the chat below. Peace and power to you all. One more thing, share, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Peace, you all. Peace again. Enjoy the rest of your strong.